It's a different kind of pieced quilt. This is a fun thing you can do if you have a fabric that's a pretty pattern. You take a patterned print, and to show what it looks like, I've used an unbroken piece of it on the back. So that's kind of an oriental looking fabric. And if I cut 6 perfect equilateral triangles from the same position in the fabric and then sew them together, it makes a really interesting pattern. But every time you do that using a different portion of the fabric, you get a very different design. And it's just wonderful to see how these turn out. We have a second piece down here that has the same effect using the same fabric. And it's the same starting fabric, but with a different background, with 7 hexagons instead of 3, and a different color chosen for the backdrop. Often the pieces will tell you what the backdrop should be in order to set them off most appropriately. And then we'll move on to a little bit of applique. You tell me when you're ready.
We're still rolling.
Oh, we're still rolling. Okay. I don't have much applique represented in this particular show. I have some very large applique pieces that I've done, but they didn't really have a way that I could hang them here very well. But we'll certainly show them anybody who wants to see them. I did bring a couple of fun applique pieces that I have never shown before, because normally when I show pieces, I show only the ones that we have worked on for a long time and they're careful workmanship and so forth. But I wanted to bring a couple of fun pieces that were done just as quilters' challenges or a fun exercise. Quilters like to do playful things to stretch. And one quilters' challenge that's become an annual tradition in a lot of quilt shows is to assign a series of tasks or parameters to a piece and have everybody individually follow these rules and then see what shows up at the end. So some quilt challenges, there was a famous quilt challenge that said make something with a cow. I had a challenge once where I said make something inspired by the sea, and in fact my entry in that's on display at the aquarium right now. This one was a challenge assigned by my best friend in Charlotte when I lived in Charlotte, and she provided 3 fabrics. She provided this coral color and the cornflower blue, and then a very unusual Picasso fragmented print that had all these things in it. And we were to make a piece that had no edge. The perimeter couldn't exceed 100 inches. That was the size limitation. And each piece had to use a recognizable amount of all 3 fabrics. You can add fabrics, but you have to use all of them whether you like them or not. And I was publicity chair for the show, so I didn't have time to work on this. But at the last minute, I realized I had 24 hours. So this is a 24-hour effort. It's done very quickly. But the reason I decided I had to do it was I had figured out the problem of how to show a tile roof, and had tucked it, and so I was so excited about trying that to see if it would work. And then I made all this scene, cutting out little bits and sewing them on top, and then I was faxing something at the Hallmark shop, and there were earrings, and they had little parrot earrings, and so as an impulse I bought a parrot and thought it needed to live there. And then there's the selvages of fabric sometimes will have color marks, just like postage stamps when you buy stamps and there are colors showing you the different press run things. So because the friend who gave me this challenge and I used to like to drink margaritas together, I named this 44 Margarita Street, and I cut out 2 little 4s from different parts of the selvage and put the house number on here. So this is not fine art in terms of workmanship, but it was fun to see what I could do in just a short amount of time, given those parameters. And then I have another piece. I belonged to an art quilt group once I moved here to Wilmington, and another 24-hour piece that I put together by machine. Many of you may be able to figure out what this is without any help. If you live in Wilmington, you probably know
Well,
what
that
this
looks like
is.
a hurricane map.
So I don't remember whether this was post-Fran, post-Bertha, post-Irene. I think it may have been post-Floyd. But I think it actually looks like the right hurricane. So if I were to think about this hard enough, I might actually remember. Or if I had written the date on the back, which I typically do, but I don't seem to have in this case. So this was put together very quickly. I told myself I couldn't use any fabric I didn't already own. I just put it together very quickly and sewed it by machine. I didn't put the binding on it that I typically do. But it's fun just to throw something together, and it's kind of freeing given how geometric and careful so many of my pieces, how planned most of my pieces are. It's fun to do something that's just a quick thumbnail sketch of what could be. So the only 2 applique pieces in this particular show. All right, so let's move on